Welcome to Up on Game presents Taylor Scouting. Coach Randy Taylor is bringing his 40-plus years of knowledge to you. This is Taylor Scouting. And now, here's Coach Randy Taylor.
Hey, football fans, this is Coach Randy Taylor. They call me Coach Taylor. I'm here on the Up on Game Network with the Taylor Scouting Podcast. You guys know you can follow us on any of our podcast sites like iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, all those that you normally follow. We're going to do an educational and tell some stories and have some fun talking about football. Today we are going to talk about the role of the director of player personnel, or what used to be called the recruiting coordinator. And so this is similar. I did one talk where I talked about the recruiting process from the prospect's point of view. Now let's talk about the process from the college coach's point of view. All right. This is going to be great for college prospects in high school and in junior colleges, and also be good for high school and JC coaches. So here's how this whole thing works. The colleges that are evaluating you and may recruit you go through some basic steps that I'm going to lay out for you here in the Taylor Scouting Podcast. In some form or another, every college uses these steps. The level of usage is going to kind of depend on the level of program it is, their budget, their staff, all of those good things, okay? And so I'm going to show you an outline here in a second of the process and philosophy I followed while at Illinois, UNLV, UCLA, and Minnesota, with over 40 years in college football. Here's the thing. The only thing that changes are, the technology has changed and the rules have changed, but the recruiting process is really the same. It's about a lot of these things that I'm going to talk about, outside of all of the bells and whistles that the NCAA and everybody else has put forward. This may be one of those shows you may want to take notes too, or record it and watch it again. I think we had Coach Bernardi was talking about how watch everything again, write things down, make notes, all those kind of things. But I've got a great outline for a college player personnel staffer here too, but also good for parents and high school coaches, right? So let's get into it here and talk about how to be active, aggressive, and creative. Hey, folks, so we're going to talk about being the recruiting philosophy. I call it Coach Taylor's philosophy. And what it is, it's about being active, being aggressive, and being creative. And those are important things. And I'm going to go through with those three things as the basis of my philosophy, okay? The first thing I always say as a recruiting guru when I'm talking to colleges, when I'm going through these how to recruit, what's are some things that tips that Coach Taylor thinks are important, and I always say know everything. And the key to that is having great relationships with the guys that run the camps and the combine producers and the 24/7 rivals on 3, all of those different guys and girls, 7-on-7, 5-on-5 coaches, trainers, gurus. And these days, the NIL agent is really, really becoming important. And have a relationship also with the high school and JC coaches. That is so important. And I think it was, again, Coach Bernardi was talking about how when you're recruiting, you better have a great relationship with the high school coach and the JC coach, okay? And so that's an important part. Then the prospect social media is really an important thing, okay? You got to know what the kid is saying on social media, the things he likes, doesn't like, who his friends are, all of those different things, who follows him, all of those things are so important because it helps you know something more about the kid, right? And then there's the key third party social media. Maybe it's his dad or his high school coach, or the guru of the guy coaching dream catchers from San Diego, or whoever the guy is. Their social media is really important too. And then all the media sources. I'm an old school guy. Shoot, I was reading the newspapers and listening to the radio, but those are all still a lot around, and us old ball coaches still pay attention to that. But we're also checking all of the other new brands of media, YouTube and all those different things. The other thing is the portal. That's one of the newer things. So here's how I look at that. If you're on a college staff and you use the portal and look for transfers, you better treat this like the San Francisco 49ers are treating their pro personnel. You better have a board of all of the players that are on every other college team in your conference for sure, and then schools that have a lot of talent that they may be transferring, and have a board with, here's all the wide receivers that are in this conference or in this group of teams that we're going to play, and rate them, right? Rate all those guys. Same thing with O-line and quarterbacks and all the different things. So a pro personnel board is an important part. And then know the rules and be ready to adjust, because they change so often. The transfer rules change, the Twitter rules change, who can call, who can write. You got all the assistant directors of player personnel and quality control guys. So all of that stuff is really important. Now let's get into my 3 top points. Active. Everything from practice uniforms to the neatness of the offices and your training table and the carpet, everything that you have in a program 365 days of the year is recruiting, and it should be treated that way. College, if a kid comes to my college and I've got crappy looking couches or a bad looking office, that's a bad image, right? That first impression is so key. It's really all about branding yourself and everything that you do. So 365 is really important, and that's kind of full circle every day of the year and everything that you do. The other thing, being active, is be everywhere. I don't ever want to have a high school coach or a JC coach say that, hey, that staff that Coach Taylor is on, they don't seem to be very visible, or I haven't seen them for some time, right? That should never be the case. It happens to some schools, it hurts their brand. It hurts the way college or college prospects feel about them, about the high school coach feels about them, all of those things. And I love to recruit against guys who just show up once in a while to a high school. Here's another of my lead topics: aggressive. And I always wanted to be first at everything. And it's hard to do, because you got to be really good at early identification of prospects. You got to really be good at evaluating those prospects and making decisions, and then early offers. But they better be. I don't like the fake offers or all that other stuff. I think we need to be giving out offers that can be committed to. Just my own opinion, and maybe that's an old school thing, but be aggressive, attack the process, and be first, and be the best at everything. And then finally, creative, right? We have so many ways now with technology of being creative. We got social media, we got the digital world, we got print and broadcast media still. We got to be creative on our overall branding of what our program looks like. What does our football team mean or stand for, or what do people think of when they think about the brand? And so be creative in the ways that you put your brand out there. And think about that kind of stuff. That is a huge part of this process, is letting people know who you are, and being different and creative and smart and confident, and all those kind of great words that go along with a great program. Your assistant coaches need to be creative in the way they do things. And me, as a director of player personnel, or recruiting coordinator in the old days, it's my job to help the assistant coach be creative, to help us be good with social media and digital media and print and broadcast, and the overall branding. As the director of player personnel, again, what I'm telling you in this outline, in this discussion, is that's my job on behalf of the head football coach, is to help our staff be active and aggressive and creative. Okay. And this is how college recruiting people are thinking in their mind, and how they're handling this process, recruiting you or your son, or your sophomore running back, or whoever it might be. Other things that we have to really be good at these days is social media. So our messaging, all of this stuff kind of feeds into our three main criteria, our three main goals. Social media, that messaging, and there's the direct messaging on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, all the different, Spotify, whatever else thing you can think of. You better be good, and you better have a plan for those direct outlets. Okay. And we know that they come and go, so you got to keep up with it. Indirect media sites, social media, there's Bleacher Report, Google Alerts, message boards, so there's a lot of different things that we can read. The Athletic, all the different other kind of magazines and things that we should be paying attention to, and know what they're saying and what they're doing. Players' social media, again, is important. Committed prospects' social media. Okay, that's about know everything, right? A committed prospect to us and other schools, we should know what's happening on their social media. The coaches' social media, the high school coaches, other college coaches, former players' social media. That's a great thing, because a player leaves your program, graduates or whatever, it's always good to know what they're saying. Again, know everything, right? And so this social media world is a great resource if we're using it right. Your athletic director, the trainers, all of their social media is important as well. And then, relationships are all a part of this. The young people today base most of their relationships through social media. And we got to understand that. We got to know how to be a part of that. And there are still some old school methods, the old handwritten note, the phone call, the other things, that we used to do, handwritten notes, phone calls. Those are all still very important, right? And then know the timing, know when the NCAA says, okay, you can do this with social media, you can do that, and know when young people are on each site. That's an important part of timing, right? When are they on, who knows if they're using Twitter anymore, but Instagram and all these different sites, and then I think the assistant coaches are a big part of this. And so give them the opportunity to be involved in this and help with the timing of all of this social media. Then we go to media itself. Now, this is really old, right? So media is the newspaper and the radio and all those different things. Just be smart. Like they say with the newspapers, they're still around. There's magazines, there's online sources. There's YouTube. They put up everything, and remember, everybody else, they all have the ink, right? I always used to tell people about the newspaper. Don't screw up and get yourself in the newspaper and then try to fight your way through it, because they have all the ink. Or these days, they have all the airtime, right? The other thing I always wanted to be was out front. Be out front of the media, and be honest, and understand that there are no more secrets. That went out the window many, many years ago. So be out front. And the other thing is use the media, social media, whatever the different medias are, use it, use them, don't lose them. Okay. Now we go into even more cobwebs are starting to form on the correspondence part of this. Well, that's still important, right? It's still a big deal to send a handwritten note, but have a plan and be creative again. Do things that are unique with your correspondence. Texting could be included in that. Direct messaging, but all of those ways of communicating with the written word, that correspondence is really important, and can be the difference between making a really big impact on a player or a parent or a dad or a coach or a guardian or 7-on-7 coach, who the heck knows, right? So those kind of things are still a big deal, and the head coach needs to be involved in that as well. Okay. I remember we used to end every staff meeting, and every coach had to write 3 to 5 handwritten notes to players on a list that I gave them. And they had to sit there and write, even if it was, hey, Joe, good luck in your game tonight. Hope you run for 1,000 yards, whatever the heck it might be. You know what I'm saying? So those things are important, and that's why coaches spend time doing it. And the head coach is the best one of all to write or text or tweet or whatever the heck it is. And sometimes it's hard to get them to do it. Phone calls are still an important part of this business, right? Which, texting, direct messages, all those kind of things. But it's still an important part that you have to have a plan for. And we used to, like every Wednesday night after practice, we'd go have training table dinner, go in the office. That was our recruiting night. We would call players, so coaches can do some of that. The head coach making a phone call is a huge deal. And when you make a call, when a college coach or you as a personnel guy, we need to have accomplished something. It's really important that I'm not just calling you up as an athlete and hem-hawing around and really not have anything to talk about. We'd have a list of things about your cousins and your nieces and your sisters in volleyball and all those kind of things. Accomplish something, and then take notes, guys. College coaches should be taking notes nonstop about their recruits, so they know everything, every name, the neighbor's dog's name, everything, because again, know everything. So all of that stuff is important, and you can get that out of these phone calls or in the other ways that we communicate. We work in this business with a database. So all of your kids, all of you high school prospects and high school coaches and recruits, you're on a recruiting board, right? The class of 2024 is on our board. That's the most important to us right now. And there's quarterbacks and running backs and receivers and tight ends all the way through at every position, kickers and long snappers. They're over here in the bottom right-hand corner. Not that they're not important, but nobody has that much room. Anyway, don't tell the kicking gurus I said that. But so what we're doing with this database is we are identifying who we have as a recruit, and players go up there and down. So they come off the board as we're recruiting. And this helps our staff be on the same page. There is never a question when we come into that staff meeting and that board is up there and we have the 5 quarterbacks we're going to recruit to sign 1. and the 8 running backs where we're going to recruit to sign 2, whatever the numbers might be. So all of that stuff, and the college coaches are all going to be on the same page when it comes to knowing who to recruit and who we're recruiting. And the thing about that and that board is so important because you can't miss anybody. We have to be in that room and all talking about that board, because our receiver coach or our DB coach might say, hey, I found this guy. You got to get him up on the board. Boom, I'm making the board, the piece of whatever it sticks up on the board, the magnet, you know what I mean? And I'm a little old school, so we might have this on a big screen and on a computer, but understand that this is what we're doing. The director of player personnel's responsibility, the recruiting coordinator's responsibility is this board, is this list of players. It's where the head coach goes to say, who are we recruiting? And then I'm going to tell them. And the assistant coaches are involved in that as well, right? And, evaluate and rate these kids. And you better be great evaluators, so that when you're putting up your recruiting board, you're not putting up a bunch of guys that are later on you're gonna take them off the list or give them a low grade or keep them warm kind of grade. There's all these different terms that we use in our recruiting process, and so one of the ways we watch that we evaluate to be great evaluators is to watch the highlight tape. Right. So I have a company, Taylor Scouting as a company, and that's what I do. I evaluate high school players' highlight tapes and tell them what I think they should be doing to be great, or to be better, or to be recruited at the level that they should be. Right. You can reach me at @RTaylorFBScout on Twitter. You can direct message me. Follow me if you're interested in having me evaluate your tape and letting you know what you should be working on. Okay. Let me see. Let me go through here. You're going to be able to read some of this yourself. Got to be able to project underclassmen, folks. The class of 2025, 2026, 2027, little 2028, we're evaluating you. And me as the recruiting coordinator, the player personnel guy, I want a list of underclassmen that we can have on that next board coming up. The 2025 class is next, and then 26. So we got to project underclassmen, right? And then we're going to, the whole staff is involved in this process. So we're all in that room. We're all working on that database together to get the best recruiting class we can get each year, right? And then you throw the portal kids in there. Like I told you, we've got that other board that's the player personnel board. So a recruit is basically, there's prospects and then they become a recruit. The recruit, we grade them, right? Whatever it is, 1 through 3, blah, 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 elite BCS or FCS, whatever it might be. We rank by position because we may need 4 wide receivers, and we want to be sure that we have at least 4 on that board. The other thing we're doing is eliminating players. So understand this, that when we're putting that board together and watching that video and talking in those staff meetings, we've got to eliminate players too, because we got to get that board down to the great players. Okay. I mentioned earlier about the phrase, keep them warm. You really don't want to be in that category. The college coaches hate it, because what it is the guy that he does enough that we want to keep an eye on him, but he's not a guy we're going to offer. Does that make sense? So that the keep them warm list is a tough recruit spot to be in the recruit hierarchy. And then there's the offer recruit, right? That offer guy that we're ready to go on, and we know what we know he's the right guy, and we're going to go on him, and we're going to offer him. And again, I don't want to have any uncommittable offers in this world. That's just me. Position recruiting is really important. Okay, so that coach that recruits running backs, or is the running back coach, he's got to do his due diligence along with the area recruiters. Okay, so that position recruiting, the coaches' areas, that's really how coaches recruit, either by position or by area or both. And so that's important. Most D1 staffs have many player personnel guys these days to help with that. Okay. Head coach, the head coach's philosophy leads the whole thing. That's how we decide how to brand. We're always trying to figure out how to use the head coach. If a head coach is coming to your house, it's because the player personnel guy or the assistant coach or the area recruiter said, "Coach, I need you." Okay. That's why he comes by your house or goes to your game or spends time with you at that camp, right? The head coach ought to be the best recruiter. Doesn't always happen, but that if you had a great recruiter as a head coach, the Nick Sabans of the world, those kind of guys, they're great recruiters. They're your best recruiters. And then the evaluation is a kind of an interesting thing, because every head coach has a different philosophy about it. Some only want to see them when we're offering them, and we'll evaluate them. Some want to see the top players so they can say, "Hey, we should offer this guy." So everyone's different, and the head coach is the decision maker in that football office. Okay. And he directs all of us on how to do things. Talking about offers a little bit, again, be aggressive, be first, be right. Early, accurate identification is so important for a coaching staff. And if your offers be targeted for needs, and if you have an academic situation, then offers got to go to kids that are either qualified or are going to be qualified. Every school has different guidelines or bylaws or whatever it is. So that's really important for the coaching staff to know that. Official visits, we've talked about before. Unofficial visits, camps are very, very important these days. The one-day camp, the elite camps, invitation only. And going to the camps that are at D3 schools, college coaches want to see you in person. They want to see length. They want to see how you compete, all of those great things. So college coaches need to be at these camps so that they can evaluate. And a lot of offers, trust me, a lot of offers come from those D3 camps when a college coach is there to see them. Okay. Player personnel, that's the role of the recruiting coordinator. And we've talked about that by position, best athletes, depth, character. We got to do a lot of these days with the transfers. We got to do a lot of self-scouting. And that self-scouting helps us realize that, okay, we need to upgrade. Maybe we need to get a transfer in because we're not good at that position. Walk-ons are part of the player personnel recruiting coordinator role. So if your son is going to walk on to a program, that's the director of player personnel's role, or they've been an assistant coach has been assigned that. One of the last thing I really want to talk about is with the portal, recruiting your own players is really important. And you have to be recruiting them at all times. And one thing we know as coaches is you can't fool the players. They know what's going on. And so the job of the player personnel guy, the head coach, and all the assistant coaches is to always recruit your own players, especially with the portal. That you're going to lose a lot of kids if you don't think about the kids you already have on your team. And then you got the NIL, and the NIL agents are all important. And then, social media and the NFL, those are all things you got to think about for your current players. And that's all that we have to do as a staff is make sure we know what's going on in all those categories. The university has its rules. They're important. The department policies are important. The NCAA is important. It's becoming less important, but you still got to follow their rules, and you got to follow the conference rules. Okay. So that's kind of a quick overview of the director of player personnel, recruiting coordinator, what college coaches are thinking. Look at this outline. All of these things apply to you or to the college coach, and how they then maneuver or operate in their recruiting of you or other prospects. Okay. We're going to wrap it up. I wanted to give you a heads up. We got the assistant GM of the 49ers is coming on sometime soon. We're going to talk about the draft and all of that. Adam Peters has worked for me at UCLA. And the other thing I've got coming up is a movement guru. We're going to talk about flexibility. That's one of the things that is least worked on and most important is that flexibility. So we're going to talk about that on our next show as well. And we just appreciate having you on here. That was kind of a exciting, exciting show about the director of player personnel and the recruiting coordinator and how they are involved in this process and what it means to you. Okay. Again, this is Taylor Scouting. You can go to subscribe to Up on Game Presents on YouTube. Subscribe to that, like us, love us, evaluate us, review us. You can also find us at Up on Game Network on podcasts in your podcast world, on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me at R. Taylor FB Scout. R. Taylor FB Scout on Twitter. And you can direct message me. You can send me your video. You can follow me. And if you want to find out more about how I can help you evaluate your highlight video to help you reach the right college coaches and get them to watch more than 3 plays. That's the key, because they'll shut it off. That's why it's important to have somebody help you with it. Okay? Thanks. I appreciate you, and enjoy being on the show with you, and take care, and go Up on Game.